This is the story of how my vampire, Odette Crown, burned down a national heritage site in England unintentionally. So, as I mentioned before, there were a series of ritual murders happening, and her friend was one of those people that was ritually murdered. So, to pay her respects, she went to the sacrificial site and said a little prayer for her. It was very sweet. I very much enjoyed role-playing that out. That was nice. That was fun. But she decided that because she has the ability to see ghosts, was going to try and look for the ghost. Now, unfortunately, the ghost seeing ability only works in pitch darkness. And so she covered up all the holes in this place called Twyford Abbey. It's an abandoned place. It's real, and it's in central London. It's an abandoned abbey with lots of holes in it. So she covered those up, went into the basement where the sacrifice happened, and tried to look, using her vampire powers, for her dead friend. And so she, in this pitch blackness, peered into the abyss. And what do you know? The abyss had a little peek back and stole some of her power and started crawling out of the basement and slithering up. She freaked out, sprinted out of the abbey, and her mate, who was waiting outside of her, smoking a cigarette or whatever, and this is Daisy, the person I chased down earlier, just saw Odette fucking hoofing it out of this abbey, just whoop, followed by 6 kind of shadowy silhouette figures seeping out of the abbey. She was really hungry after that first encounter, and so she broke into someone's house to feed on sleeping people because she's a vampire and she drinks blood, the usual. So she broke into a person's house and triple botched the roll for this. And you know that thing that DMs do where they're like, you failed. You get inside and you do the thing you want to do. That's what happened. And so I got inside. I was like, well, that's not good. I'm inside and nothing's gone wrong yet. So I snuck up to the person's bed. And the DM was like, yeah, there's 2 sleeping people in the bedroom. Would you like to drink from them? And I was like, yeah, I guess, yeah. So I drank from one person, just a little bit, not enough to hurt them or to suck out their insides, and I was like, well, I still need more, so I'll go around to the second person. And I fed on the second person, and the DM was like, yeah, that person lets out a little uncomfortable groan when you bite them. And then I was like, yeah, like the first person, right? And they were like the first person, right? And then DM was like, do an awareness test. And I did really well. So the DM was like, yeah, you smell blood. And so my first question was because this is the kind of DM they are, is so just to get this out of the way, people don't normally smell like blood, right? And it's not that you've experienced. I was like, okay. I went round to the first guy again, and I checked, whether they were breathing, and I couldn't tell because my character has no skill in medicine. So I pulled back the covers, and there was just a hole where their chest was supposed to be. And I was like, oh shit, that's why that smells blood? Because there's blood everywhere. Oh no. So I went around and checked the other person, and they were fine. And you know how I knew that? Because they woke up, saw me with a knife and covered in blood, and screamed their fucking head off. So to stop the ensuing problems that would occur if she was to tell people, I panicked and stabbed her in the neck and killed her. And all of the players had a fucking breakdown because I didn't know what to do. I I just had to get out of there. And next night, when we got up and checked the news, turns out there were 4 Scoopy murders that happened, and I accidentally found out one of them. And that was when Odette learned that her clan, the Kaibet, were shadow protector people. So eventually she was looking for help with how to destroy these shadow creatures that appeared out of the abyss. And in the time that it took for her to find out what they were, how to destroy them, and that she wasn't quite strong enough to do it herself, she had discovered that A, they require the ability to become part of darkness and then, like, fight them in a place called the Twilight, between the ghost realm and reality. I don't know. And B, for whatever reason, these shadow creatures were sneaking into people's houses and scooping out their insides. How low was my character's humanity? Well, my character's humanity was 5, and I did a humanity test to see if it went down, because my character, like, panicked and murdered someone, and it wasn't... I just passed it, so my character was like, I fucking murdered someone and I feel really bad about it because she was just a victim here. But it wasn't like premeditated murder or anything. It was just like a murder of convenience and passion. Like, yeah, it wasn't the plan. 4 Scoopies, 1 Stabby. Yeah. And so now, in-game, there are pictures of my character, like, on wanted posters around the city. Anyway, unrelated. Yeah, my character was highly motivated to kill the fucking shadow things. So I tracked them down and I couldn't do anything, so I figured out what they were and didn't really get any answers, but I asked for help from other members of my clan, and one of them was like, yeah, I know how to kill those things. If you can't do it, I can. And so I went with her to track these things down. And we tracked them to the place where they first appeared, Twyford Abbey. And she was like, okay, you do not have the powers or the skill to attack or even hurt these things. In an emergency, you can use fire. They're shadow creatures. They don't like light. They don't like fire. And we went inside Twyford Abbey to look for these things. And from there, there's a whole other section of this story that I haven't mentioned up until now, and I didn't realize existed until the person I was with, whose name was Fisher, Odette and Fisher went into Twyford Abbey and found another character called the Barman. And don't get into why, I don't know why, but the Barman is a woman, not called the bar woman, don't know why, it's just the GM being weird. So the Barman was there, and she was like, oh hey, I've killed 4 of those shadow creatures. And then Fisher was like, cool, you're a fucking heretic and you need to die. And I was like, whoa, where did this shit come from? Aren't we supposed to be chasing the things that she killed? Thank you, I think. And I didn't manage to calm down Fisher. She was like, you stay... In fact, she didn't even say, you stay here. She was just like, the barman's about to escape, so I'm chasing her down. So the barman yeeted herself, like, down into the basement where the ritual happened and apparently disappeared, which we found out later. But my character was like, shit, I'm gonna have to kill the barman now. Lit up a torch of fire to fight with and, you know, eventually kill the shadows with. Unfortunately, I botched my craft roll to make this homemade torch, which consisted of a stick, a tea towel wrapped around the end, and some lighter fluid. So I lit this thing up, it fell apart, and the entire place caught on fire. At which point, my vampire, who hates fire for obvious reasons, because it can kill them, freaked the fuck out, and ran away. Did the job? It did not help. The entire building caught on fire, and nothing happened, aside from a building burnt down. And then there's like another story that immediately follows that in the next session, where all of the other players arrive at the burning building with my character outside, hiding in a bush.